First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the name of who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is the name of who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Quadash means holy. That's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today I wanted to make a lesson, pretty much just cut this false narrative that there are no Edomites today, right? Because this is what some of the scholars say, is that the nation of Edom was done away with, right? That there's no longer any Edomites today, right? And that's just complete nonsense, because when you read the scriptures, it clearly goes into how when Yahweh Shai comes back, he's going to come to deal with Idumea, Edom, Esau, the Edomites, the so-called white people, right? In actuality, they're red. Okay, but let's read what this says right here. I searched up, are the Edomites still alive, right? And the first one came up and said, I would disagree. It's true that Edom is mentioned in both Isaiah 63 and Isaiah 34 in connection to God's ultimate judgment, but this is because the Edomites were prominent among the nations that around Israel that hated Israel, right? And pretty much he goes into how saying when it says Idumea or Edom, it's talking about all nations that hate Israel, right? Just complete nonsense and just confusion, right? That's not the truth. And I just wanted to make a quick video going into that and breaking it down, going into how, hey, the Edomites are still here. And actually, you could just break it down in two scriptures, right? Two scriptures can prove that the Edomites are still here today. Okay, and then I also phrased the same question differently. I said, who are the descendants of Esau today? And another article came up and said, in some Jewish tradition stemming from the Talmud, the descendants of Esau are compared to the Romans, to a larger extent all Europeans, because of their alliances with nations at war with Israel and Judah, right? And that's actually the truth, right? The Edomites were the Romans, were the Grecians, okay? And it literally tells you right here, okay? Just had to phrase it differently, and it still came up, right? But let's get into the scriptures, right? Just a quick lesson. Ezekiel. Let's get that in Ezekiel 36. And I'll start at verse 1. It says, also thou son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord God, because the enemy hath said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession, right? And this is actually this was prophecy about what was going to happen, and what's happening right now, right? What was going to happen to the land of Israel over there in Jerusalem, right? The Holy Land, how our enemy was going to take it over, right? And that's exactly what's happening right now, right? They have our ancient high places and they're laughing, okay? And to hit that point even harder, right? Verse 5, it says, therefore thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. Right? He's going to come back to judge these nations, but more importantly, to judge the Edomites, right? The people that he hates. Okay? And when it says Idumea, Salakia, when it says Idumea, that's the Greek way of saying Edom, right? The Edomites. It says that they have appointed my land, right, the Holy Land over there, into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. Okay, and that's exactly what's happening right now, right? That was prophetic, that they're going to take over that land and pretty much rejoice, right? That's why they're called the 1948ers, right? I think that's what, let me see if that's correct. 1948 Belford Declaration. I think it was 1948. Right, 1948, right? The creation of Israel, right? When they went over there and pretty much said, oh yeah, this is our land. But in actuality, the true Israelites are not supposed to be there right now, right? They're pretty much imposters, right? This was prophecy, okay? But that's a little cut, right, to show that, hey, this was prophecy that they were going to be over there. And another point to hit that even harder, we can go into Luke, right, 21 and 24. And it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Right, and this is talking about 70 AD when the temple, right, was sacked by the Romans. Right, it says that they shall fall by the edge of the sword. Right, the nation of Israel fell by the sword. Right, they were destroyed by the Romans. And it says, and shall be led away captive into all nations. Right, we fled everywhere after the temple got sacked, right? Primarily into northern and western Africa, right? It says, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, right? Ezekiel 36 and 5, exactly what we were reading, how they were going to appoint that land to themselves, right? That's what it's going into. Trodden down means run down, right? Inhabited by the Gentiles, the other nations, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And the times of the Gentiles is when he comes to judge the Gentiles, right? When he comes to destroy them. That's what he's ultimately talking about when it says the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Because he's coming to judge. Okay, he's coming to judge. Right, and a precept on that, let's just hit it while we're at it. 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Right? And it says, this is pretty much going into how he's going to fight with all nations. Right? Verse 5, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And that man was Yahushai. Okay, so I just wanted to hit that quickly. But let's keep going down the scriptures I have lined up. Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63. Okay. It says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Right, and this is ultimately talking about Yahushai. Right, when he comes from destroying Edom. Right, the times of the Gentiles. Right, it all ties together. Which goes to show, when he comes back, hey, the Edomites are still going to be around. Right, they're still going to be around. They're supposed to be over there in the Holy Land. Right, they're supposed to be in the height of their rulership, in their height of their wickedness. Right, because hey, Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Right? But as it says, who is this that cometh from Edom, right, with dyed garments from Basra? Right? His garments are going to be dyed. It goes into it. It says, this that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, in thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? Right, pretty much going into how he destroyed, he killed. Like if he was in a wine fat, right, stepping on grapes, right, his garments, they got all red and dirty because all the killing he's going to do. It says, I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my remnants, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of my vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Right, the day of his vengeance. Right, the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay, it's all talking about the same thing. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 34. Right, because this guy, that article we read, it says that Isaiah 34 and Isaiah 63 is not talking about what's going to happen in the future. Right, that it already happened. It's talking about some other random things. Right, that the Edomites are done away with. But hold up, let's see what it says here. Okay, and we're going to start at the top. Isaiah 34 and verse 1, it says, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation, which indignations means righteous anger, right? For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stinks shall come up out of their carcasses. Salakia. And the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. And this right here is talking about the nuclear destruction. right? The host of heaven being dissolved and the heavens being rolled together as a scroll, right? That's talking about the mushroom cloud, right? Like that's how Isaiah described it, exactly as John, right? They described the mushroom cloud as a scroll being rolled together. And when it goes into the host shall fall down as a leaf falleth from the fig tree, right? It's going into the missiles. But it says, for my sword, right, his destruction, right, those missiles shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Right? Idumea, the Greek way of saying Edom. Okay, and just to prove that point, just in case someone wants to doubt out there, right, let's go to Isaiah 34. And let's go into the Greek and just show that it means that. Idumea, right? Edom, Edomite, Idumean. Okay, the Greek way of saying Edom, red, because that's actually what they are. Is they're red, or they're not white, they're red, right? But verse 6 it says, the sword of Yahweh is filled with blood; it is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh hath the sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, right? And ultimately, hey, he's coming to judge. Yahweh Shai is coming to judge, right? Because these people have completely destroyed the nation of Israel, right? Completely destroyed the earth too. Let me see if Obadiah, right? Obadiah deals with Edom, right? Let me see. I didn't have it planned to get this one. Right, Obadiah 1 and verse 10, it says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right, that's going into how after Yahweh Shai comes to judge this place, there ultimately that race is going to be done away with. Right, and Jacob is going into the Israelites, the so-called Latinos, Negroes, and the Native Americans. Right, they've been completely destroyed by the Edomites, the so-called white people. Right, but yeah, this whole chapter goes into the destruction of Esau, Edom. Okay, but let's keep going with the scriptures I had. Let's see. 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. And this is what I was going into when you can prove that the Edomites are supposed to be around till this day with just two scriptures, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 6 in verse 9 it says, for Esau, right? Esau is Edom. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? And to get understanding on this, all you have to understand is that this is talking about when the rule of the Edomites, right, when the rule of Esau comes to a halt, right, Jacob is going to start ruling. And ultimately, when Jacob is ruling, or let me rephrase this, right, that was a little butchered, right, this is ultimately talking about Daniel, the 2nd and 7th, Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7, right, because it was prophesied that there's going to be 4 major kingdoms on the earth, and then the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, right? When the nation of Israel is ruling forever, we have all the blessings. Okay, that's why when it says Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? The kingdom before the nation of Israel ruling is supposed to be Esau, right? The Edomites. And now let's go into what kingdoms are supposed to be, or what kingdoms were prophesied that were supposed to be ruling, right? Okay, we have the first kingdom, Babylonian, right, with the Assyrians. Then we had the Medo-Persian in Greece. No, you have first, it was Assyria and Babylon. Then it was Medo-Persia, right? Then it was Greece. And then it was Rome, right? Which right now we're in the last part of the Roman Empire, right? The toes, okay? And then it has a divine kingdom, right? Which is Jacob, right? The Israelites. So with just these 2 scriptures and having knowledge, having wisdom, you can understand that Rome, right, the Roman kingdom is supposed to be Esau, the Edomites, because the divine kingdom is Jacob, the Israelites. Okay, and just another, let's go to Daniel 7 now, because it says it also, right, the 4 beasts, right, which goes into the 4 kingdoms, and it breaks it down, right? The first, like a lion, had eagles and wings. That's talking about Assyria. And then it says it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, talking about Nebuchadnezzar, the first king of Babylon. Then it says, and another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth, and they said unto it, arise, devour much flesh. right, going into the Medo-Persia, right, Medo-Persian Empire, because it started with the Medo, right, the Median, or I forgot how you say that, but pretty much it says it raised up itself on one side, right, because the Persian Empire was greater. Just a quick breakdown right off the top. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, talking about Alexander the Great, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, right, and those 4 wings is going into his 4 generals, right, which pretty much took over after him, right. It says the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And after this I saw in the night visions, behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, right, going to the Roman Empire, the strongest of the strongest. And they had a great iron teeth, and devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped a residue with the feet of it, and was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns, right, going into NATO, EU, right, in that breakdown of Revelation 17, if I remember correctly, right, that beast. And it says it was different from all the other beasts because they had the Senate, right, they had the democracy, right, that type of system, right. All the other beasts didn't have that, but that's why they were diverse from the other beasts. And it says, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up from them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns, and blah, blah, blah. Or let me keep reading. It says, plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and mouth speaking great things. And that little horn is pretty much going into America, right? Just a little quick breakdown, right? Nothing, I didn't want to hit all the points, just a quick breakdown. And then after that, after those 4 kingdoms, it's supposed to be the kingdom of heaven, right? The Ancient of Days ruling forever, right? The Israelites ruling forever. So just with those 2 scriptures, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. It goes to show that the Edomites are supposed to be ruling before Jake rules, right? But let's see, what else do I have on my mind? What else can I hit? Oh yeah, let's get that in Amos. Let's actually go on the blue letter. Amos. Right. Amos. And just hit this real quick, right? Amos chapter 13. And I'll start at verse 9. It says, thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant. Right? In Tyrus, I'm pretty sure it goes into the son of a Canaanite. Right? Let me see. No, it was Zidon. Right? But pretty much Tyrus and Zidon, right? I'm going to get the precept on this. It goes into the Canaanites, right? Which the Canaanites goes back to the Hamites, right? Ham, which are the so-called Africans. And it's saying, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, right, the so-called Africans, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity, right, the captivity of Israel, to Edom, right? And that's ultimately talking about how we were sold to the Edomites, right, the so-called white people, by the so-called Africans, which are the Hamites. And the precept to that is in Joel chapter 3, right? Joel chapter 3. Now start at verse 4. It says, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, now the coast of Palestine? Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, now the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, right, the Israelites, have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. Right? In Amos 1, right, it was talking about Tyre, right, selling the captivity to Edom. And here it's talking about the same thing. Tyre and Zidon selling the captivity, the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, unto the Grecians. Right? Which the Grecians is talking about the Greek. Right? Because the Greek are the Edomites. Right? The Greeks and the Romans. And just to hit the point, right, going into Tyre and Zidon. Right? Let's get Zidon here. Right? It says Zidon right here. Strong's definitions. Sidon, this the name of a son of Canaan. Right? With those, that lineage goes into Ham. Right? Which the Hamites are the so-called Africans. Right? So when you put it together, hey, it makes complete sense. Right? It makes a complete sense that the Edomites are supposed to be here, and it's all prophetic. But hopefully this is edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of great mills that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.